How you doing, guys? This is Matthias Atva from Dreadnought, your Dreadnought PS4 replay guy. Today we have a Dreadnought mini update focusing on the new patch that is scheduled to be released on or soon after Thursday next week for PS4, which is the 17th of January 2019. I still plan on making my monthly Dreadnought news and channel update for January later on this month, in addition to this mini update. Also, because of my schedule, I won't be posting anything tomorrow, but I will have my best Tier 4 Dread class replay since 8v8 play on PS4 Friday evening featuring the Akula Voronezh, so stay tuned for that. Today we'll be looking at what to expect in this upcoming patch and some juicy info and sneak peeks at what the devs are working on for after the January patch. Okay, so let's jump right in. First of all, we have the fleet tier change, a subject that has already been well discussed and some consider to be fairly controversial. For those of you who may not know, how tiers are organized into fleet for gameplay modes is now being modified. Currently, tiers 1 and 2 play in recruit fleet, tiers 3 and 4 play in veteran fleet, and tiers 4 and 5 play in legendary fleet. Well, next week this will be changing. Recruit fleet will still be tiers 1 and 2, and legendary will still be tiers 4 and 5, but now veteran fleet will be tiers 2 and 3. This means that Tier 4 ships will only be available in Legendary mode. Some players have been asking for a change like this for some time now, while other players think that this change will only exacerbate the current tier balance issues in the game. The devs have already explained why this change is being made, mainly due to lower players having serious barriers to progression once they hit Tier 3. This has been dubbed the Tier 3 wall. The problem many players have is that once they hit veteran mode, they are savagely set upon by high-level players in fully decked out Tier 4 ships, and they are being mercilessly outclassed and farmed. The logic behind the change is that the gap in power and capability between Tier 3 and Tier 4 is much more disparaging than between Tiers 4 and Tier 5. Tier 4 ships have access to all the same module types as Tier 5, and Tier 5 ships only have a moderate increase in performance. Another hopeful positive effect of this change is that there will be more players in queue for Legendary, which will cut down queue wait times and increase the population pool for Legendary matches. Dreadnought community reps have stated that the balance issues between the tiers is going to be addressed further in the future, and that this isn't the quote silver bullet unquote, but a step in the right direction and something that most players have been asking for a while now. Detractors of this idea claim that players will still mainly play in veteran mode, and that the Tier 2 players will soon complain about being farmed by Tier 3 players. However, it should be noted that most players can progress through a Tier 2 ship into Tier 3 in a couple of days, and then run through Tier 3 ships and get to Tier 4 within about a week or so. Another related change that will be happening in the upcoming patch is a revamp of the battle bonus. Although specifics are pretty vague at this point, the new battle bonus is going to encourage players to have 5 ships in their fleet and further encourage them to spend more time leveling up several ships at the same tier instead of power leveling just one ship. How this is going to work is that the more ships you have in your fleet, the higher the bonus reward will be for the other ships in your fleet. Also, the majority tier of the fleet ships will also have an effect on the bonus. So if the majority of the ships in your veteran fleet are Tier 2, you will get a certain bonus. But if the majority of the ships in your veteran fleet are Tier 3, then each ship will get a higher reward. So instead of having just one Tier 3 ship in your veteran fleet, if you have 5 Tier 2 ships, each ship will get a higher reward. Furthermore, once you get 3 of those 5 ships to Tier 3, the bonus to all the ships in your fleet, including the remaining Tier 2 ships, will get an even higher bonus. In my opinion, it's always good to have a minimum of 3 ship classes in each fleet for the rock, paper, scissors effect. In other words, don't bring a Dreadnought to an artillery fight. Overall, your progression in one single ship may not be as effective, but if you spend time in several different ships, you can level all of them up much faster and make the battle bonus more effective for the money you spend on it. Next, we have the brand new Rupture mechanic. Rupture will be a new type of module set like Stasis, Drain, Disrupt, etc. that will be replacing the Purge mechanic with the exception of the Dreadnought Tartarus missile. Although the Tartarus missile will remain exactly the same, all modules that are part of the Purge family of modules, and also including the Dreadnought Armor Breaker ammo, will be replaced by the new Rupture modules. So what does Rupture actually do? Rupture modules will strip all armor buffs from armor boosting modules, making them the hard counter to these armor modules, and will also apply a further up to 20% armor debuff, which will essentially give anyone shooting at the target a 20% damage bonus. It is so far unclear whether Rupture is going to also strip away damage reduction bonuses given by officer briefings like Slow and Steady or Engineering 101, so we'll just have to see when it arrives. That means Purge Beam, Purge Shot, and Armor Breaker ammo will be replaced with Rupture Beam, Rupture Shot, and Rupture ammo, while the Tartarus missile will be staying the same. Now we have a surprise change coming in the patch that no one has heard of until today, and that is a class overhaul of Corvettes. Okay, before you start cheering or jeering, this isn't just a huge nerf or buff, but a fundamental change on how Corvettes move and operate, so let's dive right in and see what we have so far. Corvettes will now have momentum, meaning they won't be able to stop on a dime anymore or immediately accelerate to full speed, so their tactics will now be more focused on strafing runs and constantly moving. Additionally, this being the most drastic change, and one Corvette fans will probably love, as each Corvette increases in tier, instead of their top speed going down a couple of points at each tier, the speed of each Corvette will actually increase at each tier. This was described as a Tier 5 Corvette having a significant top speed increase over Tier 1 or even a Tier 3 Corvette. Furthermore, there are some really awesome changes happening to a few of the Corvette modules. First on the chopping block is Immelmann, and it's getting thrown in the trash, which in my opinion is great because, again, in my opinion, Immelmann was kinda lame and only really in the game to make the Aquila Corvettes moderately playable and competitive because, again, in my opinion, the entire Aquila Corvette line is a fleet of flying dumpster fires, but more on that in a future video. Instead, Immelmann is now being replaced with turn amplifier like what artillery cruisers have. It will be in the 4th slot, meaning a high-tier Corvette, even Aquila Vector Corvettes, will be able to take thrust amplifier and turn amplifier and fly around doing some pretty awesome stunts and tricks, but not be predictable in such an easy target as with the Immelmann. Also, kinetic weapon amplifier is going to be changed so that it has a damage buff, but it can only be used on the rear arc of the enemy target, making it basically a backstab maneuver. Furthermore, certain cloak modules are being moved from the 1st module slot to the 4th module slot, meaning you'll be able to cloak and assault blink warp, or cloak and armor amp, or even cloak and thrust amplifier. Corvette captains, start your engines because Dreadnought is about to get really fast paced, and don't expect to stop on a dime anymore. Now, speed is life. Those are the major highlights of the upcoming mid-January patch, but the devs have also released some news on what's coming soon after this new patch. Okay, so here are the rumors and what's to be expected. First, a new map for all PvP play modes. Second, a new game mode focused on competitive and clan play. Third, and most exciting for me, an entire new set of officer briefings and a possible revamp of how to acquire all the officer briefings. Fourth, more hero ships and refit skins. And last, a battle bonus toggle for quick play. Okay everyone, that's all the news I have for the patch coming next week and what the devs are planning to roll out in the weeks and months after that patch. The big takeaways are Corvettes will now be fast and furious without buffing or nerfing their damage. Veteran fleet mode will be Tier 2 and 3 instead of Tier 3 and 4. Battle bonus is getting a big change, and finally, Rupture is going to be replacing Purge except for the Tartarus missile. Well, that's it from me for now, and I'll see you soon in Sinley Bay.